Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Garrett Smith, and I have a big announcement I'm going to make today. So we'll just jump right into it. So me, the nutrition detective, also known as Dr. Garrett Smith, we are going to present soon the Test, Don't Guess, Then Address hair tissue mineral analysis, also known as hair analysis, and blood work nutrition analysis online seminar given by yours truly. You're probably here because you already believe that HTMA or hair analysis and blood tests are extremely useful. They're a way of looking inside of people to see what's actually going on. They are very useful, yet a tool is only as useful as the hands that wield it. Also, with people, you might also say it is the poor musician who blames their instrument. So now you can learn to use these two things together to really treat the cause and not just cover up symptoms. Remember, no one has a needle deficiency or an herb deficiency. We are trying to actually get down to the real root causes of things. Who can take this seminar? Practitioners and non-practitioners can take this seminar. This seminar is for anyone who believes that the proper application of lab work used to assess and treat both toxicities and nutrient deficiencies is a critically important part of bringing people back to health. Okay. A quote from one of my teachers here: give the body what it needs, help it get rid of what it doesn't want, and then get the heck out of the way. This was a quote that I learned in naturopathic medical school from the late, great Dr. Jim Sensenig. And I have truly taken this philosophy, and it is the core of my practice. The other quote, the title of this seminar is Test, Don't Guess, Then Address. You may be able to find yourself stopping the kind of approach of reading every new article on the internet and trying every new supplement when none of them are essential nutrients and all of them are just addressing symptoms, but you don't understand how it works. And only the body, or even if you wanted to say God, understands how well it works. And we are just trying to give the body what it was intended and help it get rid of what it wasn't intended to have. That's all we're trying to do here. And that, in my belief, is the basis of all human health and disease. Quick seminar overview. What are we going to teach you how to do here? We are going to teach you how to stop nutrient depletions from continuing. We're going to teach you how to restore those deficient nutrients. We're going to show you how to stop in-toxing in as many of the most important ways that we can. You know, we can't go over everything. And then we're going to accelerate the processing and removal of accumulated toxins from the body. All of the above things that we're talking about are going to be addressed within the context of the scientifically demonstrated worldwide epidemic of vitamin A toxicity. And if you haven't seen my video on this YouTube channel about the worldwide epidemic of vitamin A toxicity and how it has shown up in about 1/3 of Americans and even 50% or more of some African countries, you should go watch that video, because this is very real and it is happening. And I just so happen to be the leading practitioner treating people on how to fix this problem and the other problems that it causes in the body. So you should know that this seminar is really only for those who have realized the vitamin A toxicity problem, that it exists in at least 1/3 of the population today, and who want to move forward in helping themselves and others to recover from it. If you are not on board with the vitamin A toxicity epidemic, the reality, then this seminar is not for you. And I honestly don't have time for you to be here questioning it. So the vitamin A toxicity knowledge prerequisites for those who want to take this course. Maybe you're new to the vitamin A toxicity thing. Maybe you get that it's a real problem from seeing my videos or looking at Grant's work or some of the other websites around the internet, and you want to learn more about how to fix it. Well, I need you to have a base of knowledge before you come here. This seminar is going to build upon concepts that are thoroughly discussed and taught in my vitamin A detox program, kind of a do-it-yourself program at nutritiondetective.work. This is a network. There's 600 plus people there who are all on this same journey together. A strong familiarity with this information prior to the seminar is required. I don't have time. We're talking like graduate level stuff here. I don't have time to be teaching high school stuff here. I need for you to go through high school first before you ever come to graduate level, okay? I know we skipped over college there, but we're talking, this is another level. My seminar time and the other participants of the seminar's time will not be spent on what we call apologetics or justifying the existence of this massive problem. I have hours of YouTube videos going over this. Feel free to familiarize yourself if you want to even further with this issue, and these links are available below. We have the free information from me, my YouTube channel at Nutrition, it's Nutrition Detective channel. We have my research forum. If you go to my website at nutritionrestored.com, that is where my research forum is. You can find it in the top bar. I have several blog entries there too. That is at my website, nutritionrestored.com, the blog link there. And then I highly, highly suggest you read what got me started in researching about vitamin A toxicity and eventually becoming somewhat of an expert in it, if you want to say that. His free ebooks are at his website at ggeneru.blog. And you can find the link for the free ebooks there. This, if you were to go through all of this, you will be about as educated in vitamin A toxicity as anyone out there can be. Some key things we will cover about any test used, because there's lots of tests out there. We want to know, are they useful? What is the test really showing us? What can it show us? What does a hair test mean? What does it not mean? That goes into what does this test not show us? What are the limitations of any test? What information do we need from the testee, as in the patient or the client, to give this test proper context? You know, as an example, what are they taking? Are they not taking anything? What are they exposed to? Do we need to go and investigate what they're exposed to? Do they need to go do that? Really important, is this test showing us a symptom, or is it showing us a nutrient-related or toxicity-related cause? Symptoms would be, an example would be like somebody says, I have low red blood cells. I have anemia. Somebody might say, well, that's the cause of anemia, low red blood cells. When you go, well, no, just like I'm going to tell you to be like a child in this. And the child says, well, why do you have red blood cells? And let's say, because you're anemic. And then you'll say, why are, the kid might say, why are you anemic? And somebody who doesn't know the answer will be like, because they don't have enough red blood cells. And you see how you get a circular argument there, because it's all a symptom. Why? If you've been going and taking functional blood test analysis seminars elsewhere, and they say, well, you have, this lab is out of range, your liver enzymes are out of range, and they say, well, give them this herb to bring this value back in range, and you go, well, what is that herb fixing? They have the symptom of elevated liver enzymes, and if you're giving them something to treat that symptom, but you're not getting into the cause, then the problem never really goes away. Okay? It's probably a nutrient deficiency, an essential nutrient deficiency. Essential is the key word there. Or a toxicity problem. And these two are often intertwined. One causes the other and vice versa. So after looking at all these things for any test, I'm definitely going to do it for the blood test and the hair test. But if somebody wanted to ask these questions about another test, let's say a urine test, we can go over that. Once you understand how to look at it this way, you can do this yourself. After looking at the above things, we can figure out the value of any test. Hair tests versus blood tests. Okay, the problem is that people on the internet have turned this into an either-or issue, or what we call a false dilemma fallacy. Okay, this is not supposed to be an either-or issue. Both hair tests and blood tests have their advantages and disadvantages. You can kind of figure that out from what I talked about on the last slide. Both tests, blood testing and hair testing, both approaches, have things that they can show really well and other things that they don't show really well. And some of these things had to be figured out by me in experimentation on myself And in working with clients and looking at what I was taught about hair analysis and blood tests versus what was actually happening with people, I had to do a bit of reverse engineering on a lot of these things and figure out what are they saying happens and what am I seeing actually happens. Okay, the reality can be very different than the theory. So this is a harsh reality. Practitioners who are sold and try to sell you on only doing one or the other, they'll say hair test is great for, hair test is all you need, or that's typically often non-medical practitioners who are able to order hair tests. And so they rely on hair tests and they tell you blood tests aren't worth it because they can't run blood tests. But then on the MD side and the more conventional medicine side, they love to say that blood tests are the only way to go. And why might they be doing that? Because that's what they can order and it makes them seem more special. Okay? Neither of these things involve the client, patient. None of them involve your best interests. They're trying to protect their turf. I don't have any turf to protect. I'm most interested in the client's well-being. So I will use whatever the best tool is that I have available. So then on that note, we are after using the right tool for the right job to get the job done right. That is all we're interested in. Okay? Why not use both? Now we're going to talk about fixing some of the issues with common hair analysis applications. First, we want to understand the negative impacts of this poison called vitamin A on the hair analysis because it has a huge impact. It has an impact on blood tests. We're going to go over trends that affect the entire hair test pattern because there are forces that will shift the entire hair test. We're going to go over the minerals that are useful in hair testing versus those that are fairly useless because not every mineral is useful on a hair test. We don't want to assume that just because they tested it that it's useful, right? Mineral ratios. The hair test people love to obsess about the mineral ratios. And I'm going to tell you that they're mostly parlor tricks and that they shouldn't guide treatment. You could have the same ratio with wildly different mineral levels. And how do we fix levels? I mean, how do we fix ratios? If you have a ratio that's off, you have to fix the levels that make it up. You can't fix the ratio directly. You have to fix the levels. So saying that your ratio's off means you have to fix the levels. So why aren't we focusing on the levels? We're going to go over how to recognize what I call detox dumping patterns versus an actual aggravation, where something's actually potentially, the client may have done something or something happened to them that makes something worse. We go over how to do all this. We're going to go over what I call detox explosions on the hair test and how to manage them. You know these, once you learn about these, you see them. They're so easy to see. And then we're going to go over to how to reduce or eliminate issues and concerns with sample contamination, the hair sample contamination, which is a very real thing. One of the disadvantages of the hair test is your hair is on the outside of your body, which means it's exposed, which means it can be contaminated. So we go over how to spot contamination patterns for each mineral, and then we go over what to do when there is contamination of the sample. How do you try to read into what their actual level might be, and how does that actually affect your treatment of it? You can't just ignore it, okay? Too many practitioners will just assume that the hair test is always right when contamination is, in what I see on it, is smacking them in the face and it's horribly obvious. And all we have to do is know that there's a contamination there and then we can adjust. So some of the bigger mineral topics we're going to cover in this. The hair test hair test is all minerals, if you didn't really know that. We're fixing calcium. Calcium's a big topic these days, right? We're going to go over the 5 things to address to get the most stubborn hair calcium levels to come back towards normal. We're going to go over how to recognize the fat stored vitamin D supplement patterns. If you didn't know, they sell vitamin D as rat poison for when the Coumadin / warfarin rat poison doesn't work anymore. So vitamin D supplements are your next level rat poison. If you didn't know, look up Terra D3 blocks, T-E-R-A-D, letter number 3, Terra D3 blocks, B-L-O-X. Just go Google that. Have fun with that. We're gonna go over how to fix low vitamin D levels without ever having to use those poisons called vitamin D supplements. It happens. It's easy. It's not that hard to fix. It can take a little bit, but we can fix it. We're going to go over all the different ways that calcium levels on a hair test can skyrocket. And we're going to go over how to fix low hair calcium, which is most commonly discussed as part of the 4 lows pattern. You may have read about this. The 4 lows pattern can be fixed. Unlike what some other fear-mongering practitioners have stated on the internet, it is not part of the tunnel of death, or it is not a death pattern or an end-of-life pattern. Well, I guess it really isn't when you can fix it. And I regularly see that happen. So now on to magnesium. We're going to go over clinically proven, and I'll show people this on hair testing. Clinically proven ways to get your magnesium levels restored and how to assess if a person's chosen magnesium approach is working for them or not. Isn't that really important? You've decided you're going to take the best magnesium pill sold on the internet. You're going to take it, and you're going to take lots of it. And then let's say I get a look at your hair test, or somebody I've trained gets a look at your hair test, and they go, "What are you doing about your magnesium?" You go, "I take the best magnesium supplement out there. I take 6 pills a day of it." And they look at your hair test and they go, "Well, it's not working." And here you go. And this is easy to tell once you know what to look for. I can easily go, "Oh, you just need a little more. Whatever you're doing is working, just a little more." It's very simple once you know how to look for it. Keeping on, sodium and potassium. These are, again, things that people in the hair analysis world will obsess over. We're going to go over how to calm down high sodium and or potassium levels on a hair test. And then we're going to go over how to bring up stubbornly low hair sodium and potassium levels. And they first must know that it takes time. Other than that, you don't have to spend much time on sodium and potassium levels. They don't drive treatment. Copper and zinc. These are like the love-hate couple, right? And people on the internet with their blood tests talking about, the Walsh people, and then the hair tests. If you go and type in hidden copper toxicity hair test on the internet, oh my gosh, you're going to go down so much stuff that I wouldn't bother reading. Because everybody's confused, because it's really hard to see on only one test. We need to see it from both angles. We have to understand the underlying stuff that can drive these things higher or lower. We need to go over how to recognize the copper and zinc, what it's actually doing. And that's why we use both of them together. Once you're looking at blood tests and hair tests together, the idea of hidden copper toxicity becomes a thing of the past. And just so you know, most hair analysis people who are claiming there's hidden copper toxicity, it's often not hidden at all once you see a blood test. It becomes terribly obvious once you have a blood test. But do you want somebody telling you you have a problem that they can't see on a hair test? Quick question about hidden copper toxicity on hair tests. How did the first guy figure it out if they couldn't see it? Weird, right? A whole cottage industry of hidden copper toxicity problems that could be easily figured out just by having a blood test, okay? Fixing zinc deficiency is a huge issue too, and that's done best with both. Phosphorus. This is a cool little mineral, and once you understand what this mineral really represents and what it's showing, both directly and indirectly, you can fix 2 minerals at the same time. Iron. This is a big one. I cannot tell you how useless the hair test is for iron. Utterly useless. And how blood tests are required. And once you have the blood test, it becomes very much like copper and zinc, very easy to see. I've seen people with a ferritin of 600 on blood tests, which is high and you want to address that. But you look at their hair test and their hair test is normal or even low. Well, they're terribly iron overloaded, but the hair test isn't going to show any of it. Okay. We're going to go over, help you to discover the long-term causes of iron overload and iron deficiency. We're going to learn multiple methods of how to bring down high ferritin. Not all of them involve blood donations, okay? And then how to dose these various methods based on tests and improvements that I've seen in clients. The toxic elements section of the hair test, we're going to go over which minerals actually really need addressing, which toxic minerals need addressing, and which just take care of themselves with proper overall treatment. Some of them you don't have to, if you're doing the right thing in general, some of these minerals will just fix themselves because that's what our body was designed to do. A big part of what we do is simply like that saying at the start, give the body what it needs, help it get rid of what it doesn't want, and then get the heck out of the way. We are assuming that there is a grand design to the human body and that it can fix these things if it is simply given the right tools to do the job. Okay? We believe in the brilliance of the human design. Additional elements on the hair test. We're going to go over how to use these to spot bigger detox dumping patterns and how to confirm or deny patterns in the major minerals. These are mostly a helper thing, okay? Other topics, foods that can help you fix nutrient deficiencies. People who try to fix these tests with foods alone, they're either going to be waiting a really long time or they may never get there. And we're going to go over which foods used to work to fix depletions, but they don't work any longer because the soil is so depleted. We're going to go over what certain nutrient and or supplement intolerances can mean. If you have somebody who comes in and they say, I can't take this mineral, or if I eat too much of this in food, I feel really bad. We're going to go over what that means. Funny thing, what happens when you have somebody who tries magnesium and every magnesium they try, they don't feel good? What does that mean? We'll go over things like that because that's pretty straightforward. We're going to go over important trace minerals that fix themselves if the right things are done. And these are major trace minerals that oftentimes we don't have to supplement and they fix themselves. It's pretty cool. And then we're going to go over the major patterns versus the minor nutrient patterns. Both are very important. If you've been sold on everybody's iron overloaded, or everybody's copper deficient, or everybody's copper toxic, or everybody's zinc deficient, it's not true. There are major patterns. Most people fall into this certain category. And then there's the minor patterns. Some people fall into this category. And if you've been reading the internet, and just so you know, if you've been out there and you're trying everything that the biggest people on the internet say to do and everything reacts badly for you, you're in the minor group. You're not in the major group. Most people write to the major group, but there's also the minor group. If you're one of those people who go to doctors and the doctors try their normal things on you and it all seems to make you feel bad and the doctor maybe even fires you, they say, well, if you say, I can't take this, doc, I feel terrible when I take this. And they say, well, if you can't take this, then you can't work with me anymore. Well, that's not what happens here. We know the major patterns and we know the minor patterns, and we are only about helping the client to figure that out. We're going to go over retracing as a real phenomenon. Some people call it unwinding. Some people call it healing crises. We're going to go over this real phenomenon, how to recognize it, and what do you really need to do. We're going to go over the different implications of an initial hair test versus a follow-up test because they are completely different animals. We're going to go over roadblocks to improvement for a client that the lab test won't show. I'm going to go over why one's current nutrient and toxicity state is much more important to address than the nebulous boogeyman of bad genetics or methylation problems. Okay, an important thing for all the people who are talking about genetics, which would also tend to involve methylation problems, these bad genetics or methylation problems concepts are very rooted in like victim status. Okay, Even in genetics, they have a saying that genetics loads the gun, environment pulls the trigger. Your environment is nutrition and toxicity. Nutrients or toxicities are what pull the trigger. The genetics may load the gun, but a gun's not dangerous until the trigger's pulled. We are fixing the environment, the nutrients, the toxicity, so that the gun doesn't fire. And this is why if you've been working on your genetic issues or your methylation issues and you haven't gotten very far, or you found that there's a supplement you have to take every single day, or your problems come back, you haven't dealt with the cause. That's all we can say. The cause is still there. Okay, and we'll go over a lot of other things. Now, what this seminar is not. This seminar is not a rehash of anyone else's work in HTMA hair analysis or functional blood analysis. I have learned things from many people, and I have taken them and I use what's valuable and I've discarded what's useless. This is a new and evolving approach, as you'll see in one of the testimonials from somebody later. Most of the other approaches in hair analysis have not changed in 20 to 30 years. And I can tell you this because even the hair test company that I use, their reports haven't changed. I did one of their reports almost 20 years ago. Nothing's changed on it. The supplements they use are still all the same. Okay, we are moving with where the data and the feedback and the clients show us where things should go. Okay, this is not going to be lectures on the history of HTMA hair analysis or justifying its usefulness. Those of you who are interested in this course already know it's useful. When I was back in naturopathic medical school, I started doing a couple hair analyses and I thought it had value and I liked it, but it didn't work as well as I thought it should back then. And that's what eventually, when I heard about it again, when I was in practice and I started looking into it deeper, I had this confidence that I knew this was a great tool. It just had to be used right. And that's what I'm trying to do. This is not going to be boring presentations on pathways or theories. I have always been about what works in the trenches with people first and foremost. I will tell people, if they're doing something and they're saying, this is working for me, I'll say, that's great. Keep doing it. If I don't think it's harmful, go ahead, keep doing it. If I think it may end up biting them in the butt later because it may be just covering up symptoms, I'll tell them that too. But I always tell people, I don't care what you do that gets you better. I'm here to get you better. And that's how I look at things. So it's called black box theory. Black box theory, you have a box that you don't know what happens in the box. Let's say that's the human body. You put something in the box, you don't know what happens inside the box, and then something comes out. This is real world feedback. This is not immersing yourself in the rabbit holes of theories and pathways and all of this stuff. And some of you practitioners out there may realize this. Going down all that stuff tends to confuse you even more, because all of a sudden this says do this, but this says do this, but their genetics are this, but their methylation is this. And oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. Well, we get rid of all of that. Sometimes, if the lab work is confusing, we just give somebody a little bit of something and we say, tell me how you feel. Get back to me and let me know how that went. That's sometimes what you have to do. This is not going to tell you to just give the client what the lab report tells you. This is what hair tests in general, and there's even places on the internet that you can go and they'll do your blood test, or you can send them your blood work and they'll run it through their little computer and it'll spit out what you should take. Usually it's a lot of supplements. I'm going to tell you that nobody got their health back with having to use long-term 10 or 20 or 30 supplements or 50 pills a day. Your health will not be found in tens of supplements a day. And the hair test is just using the hair test, or these other computer algorithms are just giving you what the lab says when there might be context that has to be figured in. Treating real people is actually an art because no person is a research study. Okay? No person is a single variable. Treating real people is an art that is well beyond any computer algorithm. We want it to be as close to science as possible, but the real world is an art. The specifics of the seminar. Hey, here's the meat and potatoes, right? When is it? What is it? This is a live virtual seminar that will be hosted on Zoom. That's where the live presentations will be. We're going to do one session a week for 6 weeks. Each session will be of 3 hours duration. This is 18 hours total. Now, I will say this right off the bat. If I don't finish getting through all the information in 18 hours that I want to get across, I'm the type of guy who would extend it at no cost. We'll see what happens when we get there. The seminar begins on March 3rd, 2021 at 2 p.m. Arizona time. We have international people from both sides of the pond coming here. I'm doing the best I can with the timing. Q&A time will be included each week, of course. For those who can't make the time, your questions can be pre-submitted by those who are unable to join our live recordings when they happen. The seminar digital recordings and materials will be included and given to the participants post-event, after the event. And the recorded seminars and materials, for those of you who are seeing this video later and you're going, oh, I want to be part of this, but it already happened. You can get the recordings and the materials later. They will be available for purchase if you missed it live. So I'm going to read to you some previous hair analysis seminar testimonials. I did a seminar before. This was, I don't know how many years ago, 3 or 4 years ago now, I believe. And many updates have happened since. But to give you a feeling of how my teaching is in a seminar situation, I wanted to read these testimonials to you. Here's the first one, quote, I'm incredibly pleased to have taken Dr. Smith's seminar series. Having come out of it with a huge volume of knowledge and information, I now feel equipped with the tools and confidence to accurately analyze a hair test and start helping people. It's a pretty special opportunity to be able to have access to over a decade of research and Dr. Smith's talent for condensing complex information into quickly comprehensible analogies made the process of learning enjoyable as well as easy. I feel his approach to HTMA is infinitely more logical, insightful, and therefore more valuable than any other I have come across. Next one, quote, I've done the hair mineral analysis seminar and it has been nothing short of amazing. Well worth much more than the investment requested. Got 2 more for you. Next one, quote, the hair mineral analysis has been the most important testing tool in my naturopathic practice for a couple of years. I had already figured out that it is sometimes best to not do what the lab says and also not to do what some other authorities on the HTMA say as well. By following a few of Dr. Smith's interviews and articles, I knew that we were generally on the same page and I wanted to see what he had made of the HTMA concept. Long story short, I am so glad I signed up for his HTMA seminar. I learned so incredibly much and have been having immediate, even dramatic results with myself, and I am sure clients will follow very soon. His findings are really unique. What I really appreciate about Dr. Smith is that he never stops learning, researching, and revising his own concept to make his treatment better. I will definitely sign up for future classes. One more. Quote, Dr. Smith's HTMA seminar series covers a multitude of topics in a very clear way, even to me, a non-professional. One of his best qualities is his thoroughness in explaining in everyday language what works and what doesn't work. But the quality that makes his hair analysis methods outstanding is the fact that he does not rest on his laurels. He is driven to listen to the client's symptoms first and foremost, and so he is fearless in changing whatever must be changed to achieve the client's optimal results. I believe this makes him unique among HTMA professionals. I highly recommend his seminar series to anyone who wants to understand the functionality of HTMA in a very practical way. So here's how to sign up. New seminar attendees, the cost is $999 US. For those of you who attended my previous seminar, maybe some of you who wrote those testimonials, it is $499 US. email Julie, my amazing practice manager, at the email you see there, admin@nutritionrestored.com, to get full seminar information and payment instructions. And if you have any questions, you can ask her about it there. I really look forward to seeing you all there, and have a great day. Bye now.